Yeah, I believe in you. I don't believe in lucky sevens. I'm not sure about my next, but I know I believe in angels. I believe in happiness. Good evening, everybody. It's wonderful to see all of you here tonight. I have a fantastic actress connected with us, and we're going to talk about her in just a second. You know, I don't know what it's like out there for you. I was talking to my sister. She's in Pennsylvania, and she said that she had to bring some of the animals inside because it's so cold outside. And what is up with the weather everywhere? Tell me. I thought it was just Georgia because Georgia's a little crazy like that. Hello, JC. It's wonderful to see you. And yeah, so yesterday was 90. And then this afternoon, I went outside to walk the dog, and I'm like, oh my God, I need a coat. It's like 60. And so, of course, me being a funny girl, I sent a text message to a friend of mine because I thought it was hilarious. And so I found, the kids always make fun of me. I don't know, is it a GIF or a GIF? I don't know. But I found one where it was like a trail of a petal of roses, and then it pans up to the bed, and sitting on the bed is somebody in one of those big blow up dinosaurs, you know? And I'm like, yeah, if this was a good depiction of Georgia weather, that would be it, because you never know what you're going to get. All right, guys, let's give a shout out to Pure Lift. They are the sponsor of the evening. I absolutely love everything about Pure Lift. I was able to interview the company many years ago. Eric Elfstrom is a fantastic person, and he gave us so much of his time to tell us about his clean caffeine design. And I have a few with me. They come individually packaged or multi-packaged. They have a nice berry, orange, and it's like a lemon lime or non-flavored whatsoever. And the non-flavored is really great in adult beverages. And it keeps you awake. It's nice. Clean caffeine is their tagline. And it says that it energizes anything. Clean caffeine from unroasted green coffee beans, a hint, less than 1 milligram of stevia, and vitamins A, B complex. The unique portable energy stir stick can be stirred into your drink of choice, or you can pop off the end and pour it in and then stir it up. But what they mean by you can stir, man, it's almost like I have to show you guys, right? So you can see the picture of the Pure Lift sticks right there, but they don't really show you what's on the end. And let me see if I can get it in the camera. So you see that end, you can pop that off, and then all of the powder will go into your drink. Or you can peel off the sticker, and there's little holes in there so that it slowly dissolves into your drink. It's kind of a really cool design. As I mentioned, they have taste free, which is not bitter. The way they do it, you would never know that this was in your drink. Orange, lime, and berry. You can purchase this on Amazon, which I love. I feel like a queen. You know, when you order off of Amazon, it's like you can just think of anything, type it in, they have it, you buy it, and someone brings it to me. So love Amazon. Make sure that you catch the show on Amazon Prime as well. Best Buy, Home Depot, or purelyft.com. And that is spelled purelyft.com. And I'm looking for the amount of caffeine. Usually I write it on here. I believe it is the equivalent of a half a cup of coffee, which is about 40 milligrams. I'm going to have to catch up with you guys and tell you how much it is. Usually I do. So let's call it half a cup of coffee. It's going to keep you going. It's going to energize you, and it's clean caffeine. Guilt-free, right? It is organic. I love those B vitamins. I mean, I have been going to go get my B vitamin shots, and I feel like I am 25 again. It is so great. All right, let's talk about our actress that she's so dynamic. She's really, really great, a very authentic person. And she also has something out there on Instagram that we're going to talk about that is designed to help all of the up and coming thespians with self tapes for auditions. That's not an easy thing. Out here in the Southeast, we sort of had to learn that way because we didn't have the live audition, which I prefer. You know, when you're in a room with other human bodies, you get to read that energy, you get to read the room, and it's an advantage. And so self tape can be a little hairy, a little scary. And she's going to talk about that as well as starring in a film. So Alex Camacho is set to star in an upcoming feature film debuting later this year on Lifetime. In the film, Tell Me No Lies, based on actual events, she plays a high powered attorney who must defend her mother in court after she is charged with murder. It's Alex's first time as the star of a film after having played mostly supporting roles in the past. Her parents come from differing backgrounds, so she is half Hispanic, but she says that she embraces her unique background and culture. She is also set to star in a play this summer as she awaits the release of new film and Touch the Water, another film drama she has also recently completed work on. Her agent, this is a special part. This is the part that I added. The agent, Jeff Wolfman of FRP Talent Agency in Los Angeles, is ecstatic over Alex's talent. He is quoted saying in an email to our studio, "She is the next Jessica Chastain. Mark my words, she is an A-lister in training. Everyone should watch her career soar moving forward." And without any further ado, Miss Alex Camacho. Here she goes. Live is live. All right. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good. Oh boy, Jeff.
It is lovely to see you. We were talking in the green room earlier when you first connected that you have such a presence. I mean, I look at you and I think old Hollywood. I mean, you have such a wonderful classic look. Have you ever been told that before?
Yes, I have. I get the Rita Hayworth all the time, and it's a massive compliment. And so do you, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So do you. You know.
Thank you very much. So, you know, I was chatting a little bit about what you have going on Instagram, but you have a major film coming out where you starred in a Lifetime film, which, you know, back in the day, right, when the TV films started, people really didn't look at them so much. It's a totally different film world today. And Lifetime films are huge. You get to play across so many really great longtime experienced actors. Did you enjoy that process of working for them?
Oh my gosh. Yes, from start to finish. And the director I worked with, he does all kinds of films, but he works with Lifetime a lot. And so he knew the whole process. But oh my gosh, working with Lifetime was like being in summer camp. I mean, by the end of I think we shot in 12 days. Yeah. But at the end of the 12 days, you just love these people. I think we all said, "I love you" at the end. It was great. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know, I can remember I was interviewing somebody about 18 months ago, and they had just wrapped on a film, and they really had to be careful of how close they were. And she made the point that, you know, in the acting world, we're close talkers, we're huggers, we're emotional people. So to keep us 6 feet apart is really hard.
Oh, right. Sure.
And, you know, even though, I mean, somebody that may be watching think, "Oh, okay, 12 days, like I've worked 12 days." No, no, no. This is totally different. You form a family, like it's a cast family, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, there were near tears towards the end. I mean, it was just so good. And I can't stress enough how great the crew was. It was one of the best crews I've ever worked with. I've been very lucky for my crews, but this particular one, and they do this, like they work Lifetime movies. And so they get it. They know the pacing. It's fast, per shot, you're going to get 2 takes. It's got to be a well-oiled machine, and you've got to be on your game from the go. So, yeah.
So tell us about the audition that you did for this part. Like, how did that go? Was it self-tape? Was it in person?
It was self-tape. And what is so very cool about that experience is that it was not an opportunity that was just out there and my agent submitted me for. I have not been able to like get in front of casting as much as I wanted to. You know, they don't know me well enough yet. I've only been doing it for 4 years here in LA. I've been an actor a really long time, but in LA, 4 years, and only recently with a theatrical rep. And so my idea was to get in front of casting. And so I looked at my talent report that you get on Actors Access, and I looked at every single casting office and I said, which ones aren't bringing me in? Well, 99% of them weren't bringing me in. They just don't know me yet.
Mhm.
And so I started going down the list and either reaching out to the casting to introduce myself, or I went to see if they had a casting workshop.
Mhm.
And actually it was a headshot photographer who told me you should reach out to Dean Franck. And I hadn't got to the D's yet on my list. But Dean offered a casting workshop where he worked with you one-on-one on self-tapes. And it was in that he said, Alex, I have something I'm casting. You might be good for it. And he sent me the audition through Jeff. And that's how I got the role.
So, all right, tell me about the environment that's out there right now, because it was several years ago, but let's call it 2015, 2016, when I was in Los Angeles. They had something called Get Seen, and it was a casting director's workshop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you weren't going there to necessarily get any type of role or anything. You were just exposure so that they could see you, because they knew what they had upcoming. They knew what they were looking for. And there was a chance that they could be like, you know what? You know, I'm going to put this one aside. And so you'd have your headshot, you know, with your resume and all that kind of stuff. What is it like now? Are they doing those or not doing those anymore?
There's tons of casting director workshops, and some of them are really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I've done a few casting director workshops like recently, and I think it's so important because we're not in the room like we used to be, like we were talking about earlier. I don't have the opportunity to go see these casting directors in person like I used to. I came here, well, I pretty much started in LA when the pandemic hit. And so I just got cut off.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I was doing was virtual, you know, and so in order to stay connected, really, I was taking as many classes as I could, casting director workshops. They also do showcases as well. I wonder if you ever did one of those where agents and managers could come watch you perform a scene.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing that on Zoom. So yeah, I would say it's still pretty live and well. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I can't imagine doing it on Zoom. I did a few of those, and it was in person, which was fantastic, because what an opportunity to be out there and be seen. I mean, that's phenomenal opportunity that I don't know of any other city that offers it. Atlanta doesn't.
Really? Not yet?
No.
I'm surprised with how Atlanta's like exploding right now.
Atlanta has a lot of talent. Atlanta has a ton of production. So I think because of the incentives that we offer, we get the production of it. But a lot of the actors and, you know, the scripts and the deal, it's all still out in Los Angeles. So a lot of the casting directors are out there. Now, we do have casting directors in the Southeast, and they're fantastic. Like the Fincannons. The Fincannons are in North Carolina. I have never heard of any type of workshop. And if I ever did, I'd be there.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's really helpful. That's the only reason I got this job, this opportunity, was because I put myself in front of a casting director who offered a workshop. So, yeah.
So for this particular film, Tell Me No Lies, when they called you back, was that virtual?
It wasn't a callback.
There wasn't a callback.
Which I was very surprised. Yeah, I was actually at the hospital at the time, and I got a call from my agent, and he made some joke, like, what was the joke? He said something about, He thought he was so funny. He's like, well, you got the job, but you said something to the casting director that pissed him off. And I was like, what? What do you mean, Jeff? Wait a minute. Did you just say I booked the job? And he said, yeah, but apparently you told him you thought Led Zeppelin was better than the Stones. And I was like, are you messing with me, Jeff? Did I book the job? And he's like, yes, you did, but only if you say that Led Zeppelin was not as good as the Stones. And I was like, oh my gosh. So no. And I found out from the director later that he saw my tape and he said, I don't need to see anything else. I know she's meant for this role.
Yeah.
So that was really encouraging.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you sent in a couple of stills from filming Tell Me No Lies. What are you able to tell us about the premise of the story, other than what I read, that you are prosecuting essentially your mother for murder?
Well, I actually come to be her defense attorney.
You're a defense attorney. Okay.
Correct. So my mother and I have this sort of estranged relationship. We always have. Anybody who's a parent or anybody who has parents knows that they can be really difficult, those relationships. And this particular one, her and I just really butt heads. But I leave my small town to become this very high-powered LA attorney. And my mom needs help. She's just been charged with murder, and I return to my small town to defend her and help essentially solve this case. So,
wow.
yeah.
What did you have to do to prepare for a role like this? This, I can imagine the reactions, the cliches, all those types of things are going to be very different in this type of scenario.
Sure. I think, well, I had 12 days to prepare. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I got a 101-page script.
Mm.
And Elizabeth, I was on all 101 pages. I mean, I had dialogue on every single page. It was so daunting. And so all I could do was, I have an acting coach that I work with. Mm-hmm. And I just went to his feet and I was like, what do I do? Help me. I have no idea. He's like, no, of course you do. Of course you do. You've been doing it your entire life. It's go time. And so I just started memorizing like crazy, because that's probably, I mean, that's just a parlor trick, memorizing. Right. But really knowing your lines so that nothing can stop you when you're on set. So that was the first thing I started doing. The first like 5 or 6 days, I was fully dedicated to just memorizing, getting my lines down, knowing the script inside and out. Mm-hmm. And then the last 6 days I spent with my coach. And I mean, we were working night and day on this script. His name is Michael Monks, and that's at the Ivana Chubbuck studio. He's amazing. I totally credit him. And that whole method really helped me prepare to be the best actor possible that day. Mm-hmm. And I should note, because it's hilarious, but on day 6, I probably have about 70 pages out of the 100 pages memorized. And I got handed a new script. Like they had rewritten it. Yeah. And like, okay, I'm not complaining, but for my very first lead film, I mean, it was daunting. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? I'm basically kind of starting over. Yeah. But you just do it. It's amazing.
So, I want to ask a little bit more of an in-depth question here about how do you work your scenes? I've heard of so many different ways where people will start from the beginning, end. Some people will start from the end and go to the beginning. Yeah. How do you work your scene for memorization? What's your game plan there?
I start from the beginning and work my way to the end. And of course, the shooting schedule is never from beginning to end. So I think my first couple days were like somewhere in the middle of the script, but I just start on page 1 and I work every day. And so basically, I think I broke it down to like the first half of the script, I'd work all day. And then another day I would work the second half of the script. And memorization does not come easily to me. Really, school and learning in general has been difficult for me over the years. But I've learned little tricks of the trade to to help me memorize, little devices, things like that, recording your voice, all kinds of different things. But yeah, I just really buckled down and made it my job to know the script. And I didn't get down on myself when I couldn't remember something, and just tried to go back to having a grateful attitude always. And kind of just, I call it my ignorant confidence, just knowing it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. No matter what, it's going to be okay. So.
I love what you said there, the ignorant confidence. But that goes back to my comment about your authenticity. You're such a authentic person, and we just met for a moment, but I can feel it. You're very grounded. You're very real. That's not something that is always the tagline when people immediately think of actors and actresses that are booking out films and living in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, we go to the grocery store and we see tabloids. So the common person who's not in the entertainment world thinks that, oh, that's how it is, when most of that lies, right? But how do you stay so grounded?
Older siblings.
Okay.
It honestly, Elizabeth, no matter how much success I'm going to have in my life, I know my sisters are always going to be there to knock me down a peg. No, really, they're great sisters. They're just, I'm like surrounded by very strong, vocal women in my life who say, they speak their mind. They're truthful. And so growing up, nobody was blowing smoke up my skirt, if you know what I mean. Always been very real with me. And so I've just been very lucky. I've had very real women in my life, and I owe it completely to them. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I hope that they will watch this and hear that, because we don't always give our siblings compliments like that.
No, and I don't think they've ever given me a compliment. It's just not in their nature, but
I get it.
No, but seriously, it's all out of love though. Like it's one of those things where my sister says it all the time. Like, I can bully my sister all I want, but you can't. You know what I mean? So I would say it's my family. Absolutely my family, because that's like the heart center of who I am and what we are. Hopefully it's good. You have a good family unit around you. I was just so lucky enough to have so many strong women, my grandmother, my aunt, my mom, my sisters. Just that would probably be the big thing. Yeah.
Well, there's something that I've already mentioned a couple of times that you're doing, and I really find this to be so powerful and helpful to people in the industry, which is your Instagram account. And one of them is for showing the auditions that you had and when you booked the role. So what does the self-tape look like? And then you show booking the role. I want to bring that in. Can you tell us a little bit about the inception of why did you start doing that?
Sure, of course. I think it came from watching self-tapes of actors that I admire, and it gets posted to YouTube. And I go, oh my gosh. I don't know if you've ever seen Emma Stone's audition for Easy A. Oh my gosh, she's so endearing. And that was just like on her laptop in her room. And I just remember thinking, like, I can do that. I can do that. And I always knew I was going to be an actor, but there were videos like that were so inspiring to me. Or there was one recently of Star Wars where you see Carrie Fisher in the audition room, and you can see her. She was meant to play that role. And so I just had the idea one day that I was starting to book a lot commercially when I first got into the industry. And so I had these self-tapes and I was booking off of them. And so I thought, I'd like to do the same thing. Maybe I can inspire somebody. Maybe I can show somebody what I'm doing. Maybe I can actually show people that you don't have to have the best camera. You don't have to have the best lighting out there. You can just be authentically you, and that is enough. I mean,
Right.
I mean, you should have good lighting, you should have good sound. But like a lot of these bookings, I'm in a hotel room, you know,
Yeah.
and or like it was a not great background, but I just went and did it and I still booked. So yeah, that's why I made that Instagram.
That's fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to drive it. Tell us one that would be good that we can go ahead and watch.
Oh my gosh. Okay, scroll back to the
Up.
top.
Okay.
Uh oh God, the one in the right corner. Yep.
This one?
Up one more. Yep.
Okay.
So that's the self-tape on the left, and then that's the final product on the right. And if you go to the next one, it'll show you my self-tape.
Oh.
Oh, and I am your red-headed Vanna White for today. But can it withstand this? Safety first. Ooh. Oh. How about this? Hi, my name is Alex Camacho, and I am your red-headed Vanna White.
Started over, I think.
But then if you go one more after that,
5 for a few hours.
so in the description, I tell you exactly how the directions that they gave me and the scenes that they wanted, and then this is what I did with it. I just ran with their self-tape direction. And then if you go to the next video, it shows you the final product.
Oh, how cool. Okay.
Bet they're not this sun resistant.
Wow, the cushions look great.
How about a dust storm?
Holy haboob. Can the Bliss cushion handle 250 PSI?
Look how quickly it dries. I bet this is one battle Bliss won't win.
What a masterpiece. But can it go 10 rounds with a heavyweight? Looks like we have a new backyard champion, folks. The ultimate test, red wine. What the f? Not a stain in sight.
Bet they're not this sun resistant.
That's fantastic. So how long does it take you to be able to grab all that footage and put it on Instagram? Like, what do you edit that in, or do you just put in the video straight into Instagram?
Yeah, I just put them straight into Instagram. And a lot of it is like now anything, part of any company's strategy for, promoting their products is going to social media and YouTube. So it's really easy to find these commercials I've been a part of, like luckily. So yeah. And then I take my self-tape, put it in there, unedited, and then I put the final product in there. And it's just fascinating, really, the whole process of it. And I really started to gain momentum when I let go, because you can end up doing a self-tape for half the day, you know? And I just realized it's like, oh, that's not what this is about. It's about having fun and enjoying this. And when I started enjoying the process more and letting go of the other stuff, that's when I started booking.
So as far as people that will tell you, oh, do it this way or do it that way, and even down to coaches and, your training that you're constantly going through, everyone has a different way of doing it. Did you decide to just do it your own way, or are there some pieces of advice that you did follow for your self-tapes?
Well, remember what I said, like my sister's very strong, opinionated. Well, that trickled down. No, I definitely was like, I'm going to do this my way if I'm going to do it. However, I took a ton of classes and I just pulled bits and pieces from every single person that I learned from, which is what I recommend anyone do. If anyone tells you that they know something for certain, they're selling something, certainly. That's one of my favorite quotes of all time because it's so true. Anyone who tells you that it's the only way to do this, that just makes me want to do the opposite of that. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, looking at your self-tapes, there are so many people that they agonize over, okay, it can't have anything in the background. And, even though
it shouldn't. It really shouldn't.
shouldn't, but I've noticed that there have been some things that I've self-taped, and it could just be that the self-tape is horrible and I didn't know, but I self-taped, and let's say it's like a kitchen scene, and I'm doing it where it's just a flush background.
Yeah.
And then I have another kitchen scene and I go in the kitchen and I wind up landing that.
Yeah.
And I think that's fantastic advice that you're giving everybody is that, that's just common sense, right? You pick up little pieces that resonate with you and then you do your own thing.
You're so right though, because there's some things that just, it require, I totally agree with you. And there's a whole other acting studio out there. And she believes that you should be in life. If your scene takes place in a bed, go in your bed. If you have a self-tape studio, just do it. Now, some say, do not do that. Please, God, don't do that. But I think it's all in a matter how you feel. I had to do a whole self-tape. It's on my Instagram where I had to be in a garden. I have a beautiful garden. I'm going to go use it. I booked that job. And who knows why you booked the job, like you said.
Yeah.
Is it because you had the plain background, or is it because you were in the environment, or was it because they needed a redhead? You never know. You never know. I'm done agonizing over it, and I'm just going to focus on my work because that's the fun part anyway. But
and that feels so good, doesn't it? It takes the pressure off.
You're right.
Yeah.
It does. And that's I think what's most important. We got to take the pressure off of ourselves for that.
Totally. Absolutely. So we were talking about commercials in the green room as well, and commercials and credit. So there are some things that can go for, on IMDb, which is, it's like the easiest resume you could ever build, in my opinion, because it's kind of built for you. A lot of times production will put you in there, or you can put yourself in if production forgets.
Right.
And it lists all your credits and it tallies them. In commercials, you don't get credits.
There's no IMDb for commercials. No, there's not.
No, but they're so fun. I mean, you're still on set. You still have etiquette. You still have promptness. You still have lines. You have all these things.
Yeah.
And
so to be creative. Yeah, exactly.
You had mentioned that you've booked tons and tons and tons of commercials. And, now you're very excited because you're a lead in a film. You've wrapped so many other films. You've been on theater. Tell us a little bit about what you've done in theater.
Oh, so that's sort of where I came from.
Okay.
So from the time I was 6 and until the time I was 18, I was doing stage, all kinds of different performances. But that was my main gig. That was what I wanted to do. My mom wanted nothing to do with putting me into the LA industry at the time. And so the performative bug that I had to do in theater, stage performances, school performances, community performances, things like that, which was great. It was honestly, the stage theater. I don't know if have you done theater? Isn't it the best training ground for being an actor?
I was about to say, yes, that is parroting what I tell everybody. I'm like, oh, you want to get into acting? Do theater first, because, you have to know that script forward to back and back to forward. You have to know all the beats, everybody's lines, everybody's timing. You know it all. And, when I say you know it all, you've memorized all of it, every line that everybody has.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic training.
Yeah.
So for someone that has a precocious child that just wants to get in front of that camera, and I remember being little and asking my mother if, can I do some modeling? I want to, be in TV. And we were outside of New York City, so that was our market at the time. And she was like, no, I don't know anything about it. And it's seedy and it's gross. And I don't want anything to happen to you. So we never did. But today, if someone has a child that's interested in getting into acting, would you still tell them, go do community theater, or what would you say today?
I think I would ask them, and I'm not a parent, so I can't really talk to a parent, but I would ask them first, like, does your child really want this? I think the most beautiful thing my mom gave me was not giving into what I wanted, because it made me really strive for it because I wanted it. It really showed me that I wanted it. If she had just given it to me, who knows? I mean, although at the time it was really heartbreaking because it was all I wanted to do. But I think that's the first thing I would ask, like, does your child really want this? Is this something that they want? That would be my first thing. The second thing I would say was, okay, if it's what they want, put them in class.
Yes.
Put them in class. Start them early in class. And a lot of places now offer budget-friendly things. So if you're like a single mom, like my mom, you can do that. They have programs for low-income families. Everyone should get the chance to dream.
Absolutely. What phenomenal advice that you're giving there is class. I always thought, have them do some theater, but class is where if that child's truly engaged, isn't it?
Right. Are they excited to be there? I mean, every single kid I've been on set with seems really excited to be there. But I also have been on set with some kids that you can just tell it's not why they want to be there.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't.
So let's talk about a project that you wrapped a while ago, and you were mentioning that they're still looking for a place for the film, but it is Touch the Water. Can you tell us a little bit about Touch the Water? Actually, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I apologize. The Lifetime film that's coming out, Tell Me No Lies, when should it be coming out? I want people to know when to look for it.
You're the best. That's such a sweet question. I wish I knew. So I don't know, but like the way Lifetime works, I mean, they're constantly putting out content. And so I would imagine very, very soon, and I'll post it on my Instagram.
Perfect.
And also, real quick, before we talk about Touch the Water, I just really have to credit you, Elizabeth. There's a lot of things in life that culminate to our experiences, but I don't know if had it not been for your show, if I would have found my current agent. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
You didn't know the origin story?
No.
Can I just share it with you real quick?
Yes.
Okay. So I posted my demo reel on a Facebook group, trying to get representation, like trying, like my darndest. And somebody saw it. Her name is Penny Moore. She's a photographer here in LA. And she said, oh my gosh, you should reach out to my friend, Jeff Wolfman, my current agent. And so before I reached out to him, I did a little Google search on Jeff Wolfman to see if I even wanted to take the meeting. Of course, I wanted to take the meeting anyway, but I wanted to make sure, we were even on the same par and all that. And so I Googled him, and your interview with him was the first thing that came up.
Wow.
And it was because of that interview with him that I knew I wanted to work with him. I knew. It was such a great interview, and just the things he was talking about, I resonated with all of them. You asked such good questions that led him down such a good, agents are really fascinating too, just hearing like how they work, casting directors, like as actors, it was so good. It was such a great interview.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I
Completely
didn't
agree.
know.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so it was from that interview, I wrote him a little letter and I mentioned your interview with him in the email, and he got back to me about, I don't know, a week or two later. And then we had an interview for like 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's just glowing about you. He loves your talent.
Oh,
Yes, I cannot wait to see Tell Me No Lies. I mean, not only does it have a great story to it, a very unique story. Yeah, I've never heard anything like that. So, when that comes out for a Lifetime,
yeah.
my goodness, I'm going to be watching that. But
Well, you should, because you played a part in it for sure.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Oh, very, very welcome. Oh my goodness. Isn't it amazing how, just our existence, it cross paths at random times, and we never know when we're going to cross somebody's path.
Yeah.
I've always been a believer of you meet someone or you're in some sort of a relationship, social, friendly, romantic, for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just amazing to, see spirits like that connect. And you're right. He really is another genuine, authentic person.
Mm-hmm.
I met him through, somebody else who's really grounded and very put
Oh,
together.
cool.
And those things are hard to find. There are so many agents out there. There are so many managers out there. And unfortunately, a large group of them are really not somebody that you want to work with. So
I got to tell you, somebody told me a while ago that finding a good agent is like falling in love.
yes.
It's hard, and you're gonna date some doozies. And I've dated some doozies in my time.
Yes.
But when I found Jeff, like love, like true love, it's, watching your interview, I knew. But then when I sat down with him for 2.5 hours, 3 hours later in our interview, I was like, oh my God, I've never met somebody. He's just amazing. He's got a high moral standard. I'm not a dollar sign to him. He really believes in me. He wants to protect me. He won't like me for saying this, but he's really the Wolfman. Like, he's protective of his talent. And it's so great. It's everything I could want in an agent or manager, just somebody who's really looking out for the best interest of his talent. So I'm super grateful to Jeff and grateful that you guys had that interview, because it was in that interview that he was talking about all the things that he was. And I was like, I want that person to rep me.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's really very, very touching. And yeah, oh my gosh. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. I know what that means to be working so hard, and you have to put up with so much stuff you don't want to, but it just exists in the industry. And then, most of the career is, no, your job is auditioning, and, the reward is the job. It's more like dessert than it is the main course, right? And I got to tell you, last year, my LA agent passed away.
Oh my gosh.
And he was a beautiful person. Same thing, very protective, very kind, very caring, and believed in me. And when he passed away, I'm not a crier, but I cried and cried and cried. My family just looked at me and they said, "Why are you crying so much?" And I finally hit the root of it. I'm like, because he believed in me. And that's an amazing relationship to have that with your agent. So I'm glad that you shared that with me. Thank you.
Struck a chord with me. Wow.
Yeah.
It's so true. What a gift to give somebody.
It is. These guys are just angels. I mean, they really are. And until you're in it and until you're sorting through the muck, you realize that the angels are very few and far apart. But okay, so let's talk about another touching film that you're in that has been wrapped, and it is called Touch the Water. Right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So that was a film that was really cool. It's just one of those things. You work on one film and then somebody says, I'd love to have you on this other film that I'm making. And so that was like that. I had done a short for this director in Arizona, and that was a really beautiful short I did about autism that my friend Michael Cassia, it was a story about a sticky pine cone and finding it. And we did a short on this little autistic boy. It was really beautiful. And then the director from that was doing this long feature film about this Native American woman. It's really touching. It's really, really touching. I'm not sure when it's set to debut, but it's the story of this older Native American woman who has never been in the ocean. She's never been in water before. And she's in this elder person home. She's nearing the end of her life. There's multiple, scenes where you see her daughter sort of detached, her family sort of doesn't care as much as they used to. She's sort of being left behind. And she's sort of got these golden girls of a crew at this elder home who are all encouraging her to go touch the water. And the woman who you see on the poster here, her name is Percy. She is just this phenomenal wealth of knowledge, Native American woman in Arizona. She played it so beautifully, and she was just being herself. And it touched on a topic that's super important to me, actually, what I thought I was going to do with my life for a certain amount of time, but was just how we treat our elderly. I mean, they're, to me, like the gems of society, and we totally put them on the back burner completely. And this film touched on those topics, which was super important to me. So I was really glad to be a part of it. I play one of the nurses, which is actually something that I did in real life. So.
Oh, wow. So you're a nurse as well?
No. So I worked at a hospice center for 2 or 3 years. My specific unit dealt with dementia, Alzheimer's patients, so a very particular group of people, but it was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. Yeah. But
I had a coworker many years ago, and his mother had advanced late stage Alzheimer's, and it really stayed with me, his attitude about it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just heavy on my heart. This is his mother, and he's like, no, it's okay. I go and I see her every day, every morning, every night, and sometimes we're on a cruise ship with my uncle who died 10 years ago, and sometimes we're taking a walk and, we're talking about, and she'll call me other people's names, and that's okay. That's who I am for the day. And I thought, man, that's just great to open your mind, expand your mind, and realize, I see the puppies, and realize that it doesn't have to be negative.
No, it's hard.
Yes.
Unbelievably hard. That attitude is a great attitude. But it's really hard to have that kind of attitude when it's your loved one, it's your mother, it's your father. The specific unit that I worked in, a lot of times, I mean, this is sort of sad, but people would just drop off their loved one and say, call me when it's over, because it was so hard. It was so hard. And especially Americans were so desensitized with death. And we can drop our loved one off at a home and just say, like, this is too much for me. This is hard for me, which I can understand. But as somebody who saw it all the time, I mean, it was heartbreaking. But there were the family members that would come by and they would share stories from their parents that they didn't even know about. I had this World War II veteran, and sometimes we would be on the front lines, which was amazing. He was sort of a captain, I guess, in the Army. And it was beautiful. And sometimes he would call me his wife. He thought I was his wife. And he would ask me, why aren't you wearing your wedding ring, Alex?
No.
It was really cool. Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, something like that, I think that's where the actress comes in. I'm like, oh, yes, darling, I forgot to put it on. I just, how did you react to that when he's saying, well, where's your wedding ring?
I did exactly like you're saying. I played along, and not in a way that was, condescending at all, but just, oh,
Yeah.
you're right. I'm so sorry. I'll put it on later. Things like that. I mean, Alzheimer's is interesting because people react differently at all different stages of this very debilitating disease. So, but anyway, yeah, it was an absolute wonderful thing in my life. Yeah, for the time that it was. Yeah.
So you do not do that any longer?
No, and I should clarify, I never was a nurse, but I
Right.
did go to school for neuropsychology for 4 years. Like that was my passion. I was going to work with Alzheimer's and dementia folks. And then my life sort of, it just changed. I don't know. And then I just knew inside of me that I was meant to be doing something else. Yeah.
Wow.
So then I went back to acting. But
Wow. Okay. Well, that definitely, that puts it all together as to the authenticity I was seeing and the groundedness in the heart. My good, that's amazing, Alex.
thank you.
There's not a lot of people that would walk in and do that and, sit with patients and work with them. And wow, that's very, very special.
I think we all have things like that, certain talents, certain things that like I would never do. Like I could probably never work in labor and delivery. Like no, thank you. But there was something about the elderly that I just I felt connected to. There's certain things in life we just feel drawn to.
Right.
I feel drawn to music. I feel drawn to acting and performing. I feel drawn to all kinds of things, but there's something just, when it hits you.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do right now. I'm meant to be here for this. So, yeah.
All right. Well, man, we covered a lot of ground tonight. This is amazing conversation. So glad that you've had time for us here on the show.
Yeah.
And before we go tonight, just tell everybody, again, what is your handle? How can do you answer direct messages? How can they reach out and ask you questions?
Nobody's in my DMs, but if you'd like to reach out, my Instagram handle is Alex Camacho III. That's just my personal Instagram. And then if you want to see stuff about my self-tapes, tips and tricks there. And then if you want to communicate there about self-tapes, I'd love to connect with you there, but that's at Alex Self-Tapes. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thank you, Alex, so much. This has really been a very fulfilling interview. I have to say one of my most favorite. Really, really fantastic. You're spectacular. So
you're a doll, and I knew I would love you. I knew it then, I know it now.
Thank you. You are a friend of the show. Anytime that you would love to come back on, we would absolutely adore to have you. So just let me know. And, maybe when we find out when the release date is for a couple of the films, especially Lifetime, I want to know. So we will help push that out there. So just let us know because they're fantastic.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful evening and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness, everybody. Thank you so much for watching the show. It is always a privilege to be here with you and for you to be commenting like you do. I just love all of you. So as always, we are blessed. You are blessed. Mwah. I love you, and I will see you for another great show up next.